at 310-559-3609.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you, and welcome to Tell the Truth. All right, children, it's waltz time. Young people are pupils at John Barkley's dancing classes. And so today, Gary Moore is going to sit in my place on the panel, and I'm going to be your mistress of ceremonies, because my children went to Mr. Barkley's dancing classes, and naturally, I know Mr. Barkley. Children, if you'll go backstage now, we'll have some more dances later. And now, let the panel whirl in.
Bert Cullen, Peggy Cass, Bill Cullen, and Gary Moore.
Gary, what was that supposed to be? An imitation of me?
I'm just sorry I didn't wear a long gown, Kitty. Yes, you might have started a whole new career for me. Well, dear.
Well, welcome to everybody, and now let's meet our famous dancing master.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is John Barkley.
Number two.
My name is John Barkley.
Number three.
My name is John Barkley.
Now, panel, I know who he is. But you will have to ask questions to find out who the real John Barkley is, and here is his story. I, John Barkley, teach preteen and teenage youngsters the art of ballroom dancing. However, my pupils do not merely learn to do dance steps at my classes. They are instructed in the entire range of good manners in social situations that will make them both popular and at ease in years to come. My classes are given in 25 cities and towns in the eastern United States, and my pupils have included the children of such well-known personalities as Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Margaret Truman Daniel, Bennett Cerf, and Kitty Carlisle. Although I have been teaching dancing for years, often teaching several generations of the same family, my classes have changed with the times. Today, in addition to learning the waltz, the foxtrot, and the cha-cha-cha, my pupils also learn the latest in rock and roll. Signed, John Barkley. All right, friends, we'll start the questioning soon, but now let's whirl away to a few commercials. Oh, that's cool. Now remember, panel, all three of these gentlemen claim to be John Barkley, who teaches young people ballroom dancing and manners. Let's start the questioning with that man about town, Bert Cullen.
Thank you, my dear, thank you. Number three, what do you do about getting boys to attend dancing classes? I know I lasted one day. I kissed a girl and then pinched her, and they kicked me right out. That's a true one day. What do you do about it?
Well, in our classes, we don't allow kissing.
But does that mean you allow pinching?
No, it happens occasionally, I suppose. Actually, you find at that age, a young boy shows he likes a girl, he probably pinches her or steps on the foot. That's his method of showing he likes her.
I see, right. Number one, do you have a particular system, i.e. the papers on the floor or something like that?
A system for getting them acquainted?
No. They know how to, a system for teaching them the steps.
Oh, well, we first start with a box step. That's the first thing.
Right.
Thank you, Bert. And now we go to Peggy Cass.
That was my first question, whether they still teach the box step. Number 2, do your little girls have to wear white gloves?
Yes, they do.
My dear, they still have to wear those white gloves. Oh, well. Number 1, do the boys still have to bow?
Yes, they do, yes.
My dear, number 1, you don't think this is any kind of an anachronism at all?
Well, good manners should go on forever and
Well, I
ever.
know, but white gloves, oh, they get so dirty with the jelly beans
But
and
the boys
everything.
don't wear white gloves.
No, the
No,
girls do.
the boys don't. They just have clean hands.
If you're lucky. Now, number 3, when it says you taught the children of Franklin D. Roosevelt, surely you mean Franklin D. Roosevelt Jr., don't you? I mean, you weren't teaching Elliot to do the cha-cha.
Oh, no, his children.
I see. Number 1, where's the...
Thank you, Peggy. And now Bill Cullen.
I guess I was born and brought up in a different world. When I was a kid, I never saw white gloves until I went to my first funeral.
That's because you lived in Pittsburgh.
I was terribly impressed.
There were no white...
Because I lived in Pittsburgh.
There are no white gloves in Pittsburgh.
Not for a long
Your
time.
day.
All right. 30 seconds, and that's the most...
Number one, Arnold Breitweiser's School of Social Decorum was very famous in Pittsburgh. Can you tell me what method of the dance he taught the little tykes there in the Smoky City where I came from?
I believe he started with the foxtrot.
That's old Arnold, all right. He had a novelty store on the side.
I never knew
He
that.
had the classes in
Well,
the
I
back of
teach
it.
there now, you know.
Need a little help there, I'll tell you. Betty Dugan's Tappin' Personality School, number 2, I direct this to you, had a radio broadcast weekly on a Pittsburgh station. Can you tell me the call letters of this very famous? I know someone here knows the call letters.
No, I'm sorry, I don't know the call letters.
I announced that show, too. It was
You
on every
did?
Sunday, yes.
I bet you were a dandy.
Now, Gary, let's see what you can do.
I hope it's a lot more interesting.
Well, contrary to Bill, I went to Mrs. Dewar's dancing class in Baltimore, and I learned all that fancy stuff. Mrs. Dewar's dancing class. Number 2, remembering back, number 2, when you ask a young lady to dance, behind which ear do you put your bubble gum?
Well, we try to leave the bubble gum outside.
Good luck. Could you describe for me the Lambeth Walk, number 3?
Well, it's an old English dance, but not so old. It's an English dance done in couples as a group dance.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 1, could you describe to me, sir, the Big Apple?
The Big Apple. Well, that was a dance that originated when England went into the war with Germany, and it came over here in about the same time, within 6 months.
You're going back a ways, no?
Yeah.
That's
where I'm
my
from.
era. When I went to dancing school, little boys held the bubble gum in their hands and stuck it on the back of your dress. All right, panel, it's time to vote, and you must mark your ballots for number 1, number 2, or number 3. We pay $50 for each wrong vote and $500 if the panel is stumped completely. Bert, for whom did you vote?
Well, I don't know what anybody's talking about, to tell you the truth. I never heard of half of these dances, but anybody who knows what the Lambeth Walk is has got to be the right fella. Is that right, the Lambeth Walk?
Lambeth Walk.
I bet that was a doozy.
All right, and Peggy?
As a small sufferer who walked and danced around Brattle Hall for years and never did catch on, it seems to me that number 3 is the kind that would be hollering at me all the time.
Oh. And Bill?
Well, now, again, I never went to anything like this, but number 1 to me has the look of a man with poise and personality. I think number 1 looks like the fellow who could teach me that.
All right, Gary, who are you for?
Well, I remember there's one fellow that reminds me, when I went to dancing class, one of the first things he taught me was the pirouette, where you turn around. I was so eager. I started the pirouette, and during the first lesson, I screwed myself 6 feet into the dance hall.
Right.
The terrible thing.
Came out down under.
I figure that anybody who knows the box step has got to be it, because that's the one step I learned, and I'm still doing it. I vote for number 1.
All right, the votes are all in. And now, will the real John Barkley please stand up?
Number 1.
Number 3.
I bet it's number 2.
Isn't anybody?
Oh, it's not.
Mr. Barkley, we'll be back to you in a minute, but let's find out who our imposters are. Number 1, you got 2 votes. What is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Ted Peckham, and
I knew that man.
And I'm an antique dealer.
And number 2, I thought you were wonderful, but you didn't get any votes. What is your real name, and what do you really do?
I am Harry Brauer, and I'm with the Carlisle Ice Cream Licensing Corporation.
Just what children love. Now, Mr. Barkley has arranged a medley of dances for his young students to show us. His pianist, Michael Sears, will accompany the dancers.
Yeah, cute, aren't they?
Oh,
Excuse me, Kitty.
Yes.
Unfortunately, one young man is sick. So do you think we could find a substitute young man for this charming young lady?
Well, we are not going to let that young lady stand there alone. We have an adorable dancer for her, and his name is Bert Cullen.
I'm ready.
Whoops, sorry. You come here often?
I think they're doing something different. Thank you, children. Thank you very much, Mr. Barkley and Imposters, for being with us here on To Tell the Truth. Is that Kitty?
Well,
Did you like it?
I loved it. But I think you're better.
No, no, you know something? You were so good. Did I? Oh, it's warm. It's nice and warm.
I was nervous.
You weren't. Yeah, I'm sorry I kicked you. You betcha. Real good, Kitty. Thank you. What do I do? Do I press ahead now, Bruno? I just go right ahead, huh? All right. By way of introducing our next guest, let me show you a picture of one of the most famous structures in the entire world. Look at that. This is the Taj Mahal in India. Now, there's one item on that picture that definitely was not in the architect's plans, and that's the sign that points out that Ted Husted's Wall Drug Store is over 10,000 miles away. We'll meet the owner of that drugstore in a moment as the Tell the Truth pauses to punch its own cash register. All right, now here is, we haven't even met him yet. Let us meet, I'm completely undone.
Oh, let's get that other girl
Let
back.
us meet our drugstore owner.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Bill Husted.
Number 2,
Number 2.
My name is Bill Husted.
number 3,
My name is Bill Usted.
All right. Wall's drugstore is 1,766 miles from here, it says. And here is Bill Husted's story. I, Bill Husted, am the owner of a world-renowned drugstore. From Shanghai to London, from Africa to the Antarctic, strategically placed signs inform the reader of his exact distance from my drugstore. Such information may not offer immediate help for the splitting headache, But sooner or later, people find their way to the famous ice water drugstore in the little town of Wall, South Dakota, that is. Now, here's a picture of the famous Eiffel Tower, a mere 5,961 miles from my store. And here is a photo of a sign located near Oberammergau, Germany. And this bullet-scarred picture was taken somewhere in Vietnam, 12,301 miles away. Actually, Wall Drug is more than a drugstore. It features Western clothing and art, rugs, mounted longhorns, pottery, good food, and naturally, wall-to-wall hospitality. Signed, Bill Husted. And let's start the questioning with the gal who is all of, I would say about 7 feet from here, Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number 1, is Wall's drugstore mileage thing like Kilroy was here during World War II? I mean, does it replace Kilroy in this war?
Well, I don't think it replaced Kilroy in this war, but some of the fellows that used to work with us in the summer, now serving in Vietnam, take the signs and send back the pictures to us.
But number 3, it's become more than just kids from South Dakota. I mean, these signs are springing up all over the world, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We get thousands of applications for students to work in the summer, and everyone who comes to our store asks for a sign, and they take it to different parts of the world, snap a photo, send it back to us.
Why are you called the ice water store, number 2?
Drugstores have been giving away ice water for years, but we're the first drugstore that advertised it.
Thank you, Peggy. Listen, in New York, you can't get it without asking for it in a restaurant, you know. Let's go to even water, without the ice. Let's go to Bill Cullen.
You don't get it when you do ask for it here in New York.
That's your bippy.
And what you get ain't water anyway.
Not if you play your cards right. Number 3, let me get this straight. Exactly, did this whole thing start as a gag or an advertising thing on your part?
Well, we are located off the beaten path.
Yes, I would say.
And my mom had an idea one night, and she put out a sign, free ice water, Wall, and sure enough, before she got back to the store, cars started turning in, and my dad got an idea and put up 20, 30, 40, and it just spread like the plague.
Number 1, then when someone does this, like a college student writes in and they get a sign and they put it up at the Eiffel Tower and they take a picture, that's the end of it. They send you the snapshot and then the sign comes down. Is that correct, number 1?
Well, yes. It must.
That's what the gentleman says, if indeed he is the right one. We go to Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you. That was my next question, number 2. How long do these signs stay up?
Well, many of them stay up year after year, depending
on where they are. Yeah. And number 3,
dormitory room or something like that.
I see. Number 3, but public buildings have generally come down. Number 3, who computes the mileage, and how does one know if it's correct?
Well, usually we shoot as the crow flies and do it from an atlas.
Oh, you mean the people who put up the sign, I see.
We take their word for it.
I see. Well, I guess you have to. Number 1, what is the...
And Kitty has to surrender to Bert Cullen.
Thank you. Number 1, how big is Wall's drugstore?
Well, it's about 4,200 feet, square feet.
What I mean is, isn't it advertised as the biggest drugstore in the world? I read an article about it in the Times.
Well, it's not really the biggest. I think there's another one somewhere that's a little bit bigger.
Number 3, how many employees?
We have 150 students in the summer and 20 full-time employees throughout the year.
Well, number 2, why this enormous drugstore in this little town?
Well, it's right on Interstate 90 at the edge of the Badlands. People on their way to the Badlands, the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, on to Yellowstone, come right by our town.
Would you, number...
And there goes the little bell which says we can't ask any more questions. We must mark our ballots, and of course the choice is between number 1 or number 2 or number 3. And we pay $50 for each ballot incorrectly marked, $500 if none of them is marked correctly. And Peggy Cass, please.
Well, I thought they were all grand, but the thing is, when that man's talked about the Badlands and the Black Hills, I feel that he really is there. Boy, it sounds like you need a lot of ice water when you're going into the Badlands.
That's a 1 for 2 when we go to Bill.
Well, now, number 1, he said that it was 4,200 square feet, and that's not really very big for a drugstore, even, you know, a non-big drugstore. And anyway, when I walk in a drugstore to ask for some free ice water, I want to see the open, smiling face of number 3. That is Mr. Wall, or my name isn't. Whatever it is.
Maybe it isn't. We'll find out. Kitty?
Well, I voted for number 3 because he either thinks the whole idea is too silly for words, or he has the kind of humor that would invent such a thing.
So, there we go. We got three threes and a 2, and what's Bert Convey gonna do?
Well, I was going to vote for number 1 because he seemed so businesslike, and number 2 had all the information, but number 3 said, my mom put up a sign. I thought it had to be him.
You, Philip Wiley, it's nice to have you with us.
Yes, thank you.
3 votes for Mom over there. The votes are all in, and here we go. Will the real Bill Husted please stand up? Peggy saved the day. Nice going. Well, let's find out about your imposters. Number 1, sir, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Floyd Love, and I work as a customer representative for Gafanti Film Laboratories here in New York.
Nice to have you here. And number 3, with your 3 big votes, what is your real name? What do you do?
My name is Jerry Lauber. I'm principal of the Trapphagen Elementary School in Mount Vernon, New York.
Well, Bill, I wish we had time to chat, but the time has done us in, so just thank you very much, and thank you, imposters, for being with us on To Tell the Truth. And we hope that you've enjoyed yourself today. We have. We'll be back tomorrow with another Try It the Kitty Carlisle show. Take care of yourselves, friends.
In addition to the cash awards, our central characters today will receive Carousel's Dolly M. Wig and Flexacura, a creative new hair thing, both in 26 exclusive colors from Carousel, America's largest wig manufacturer. Transportation and other considerations provided by Chevrolet, featuring the 1971 Chevelle, America's most popular mid-size car, new bumpers and grill, same solid, dependable performance at a Chevrolet price. Prizes or product mentioned were furnished and or paid for by the manufacturers or supplier of the products or services identified on this program. This is Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth, the Mark Goodson, Bill Trotman production.
The truth can be found in black and white with Bud Collyer. Don't miss the original To Tell the Truth, Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.